welcome to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and on tonight's show we'll be talking about stuffication. That's when you get suffocated by stuff, and how to go about simplifying our lives from it. With spring cleaning around the corner, simplifying our lives is at the top of our minds, and that means out with the old and in with the new, and that goes for everything from that old sweater that you just can't bear to get rid of to that toxic friendship that's dragging you down. Here in the studio to talk to us tonight about some of the techniques and tools we can use to simplify and declutter our lives are two wonderful ladies. First, we have Julie Richer, who is a self-development coach, a naturopathic energy practitioner who runs various self-empowerment workshops, and will be talking to us about how to get rid of unhealthy habits that are slowing us down from a spiritual and emotional perspective. We also have personal stylist Wilma Harkins, who can not only help you declutter your home and wardrobe, but she's also the queen of image makeovers. So we're going to be talking and seeing some of those results later on tonight. She's also written a book recently called A New You Style Journal, and that's available at various local retailers.
Yes. And they're all listed on my website.
Which is Personal
Stylist.
And of
course you can order it on the website as well.
Perfect.
Save the shipping and go to my retailers.
Sounds great. Personalstylist.ca. Wonderful.
Thank
so
you.
I want to ask you ladies how you got into this line of work, first of all. Let's start with you, Julie. How did you get into this?
I was a lost soul. I think, there's this desire of wanting to empower and inspire people from a very young age, whether it be entertainment, majorettes, or dancing, whatever it was. But what I realized in my life is that I had lost myself for many years. People pleaser was a huge label that I used to carry, didn't even know who I was after a while. And there's just this intense desire of wanting to always self-improve, wanting to be better. And whenever I realized something was happening in my life that I did not like about myself, I was like, I gotta change this. Mm-hmm. So I did so much self-development myself. And would say, took some, coaching courses and lost my job after 22 years in the government. And I thought, you know what, this is my chance. This is a chance where I can truly use my gifts and help and inspire people in the world to really be themselves and get rid of the junk, the emotional, the state of minds that actually sabotage us, that keep us paralyzed from doing what we want. So I just got into that, made it my business. I'm in my third year of business now and loving it.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. I want to hear more about some of the ways in which you help and guide your clients get rid of some of those categories that take up so much of our time and energy and keep us from living our lives to our full potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Wilma? How did you get into this line of work and helping people declutter their closets, which is just the thought of it makes me so tired.
It's energizing, actually, because you see it all on the floor, and it's great. But it really started like almost 30 years ago and kind of progressed to where I am now. So in the, the hair and the makeup industry, and it has evolved into image makeovers and now into the styling and going into the wardrobe, and let's remove things that are not working for you, get them out, purge them, and then doing those makeovers, and then eventually got into the book itself, which is sort of the self-help and trying to direct people to do some of the things that I'm doing, but do it yourself and get those things out of the wardrobe and focus yourself. We're always looking for change. We want something different. We're always a lot of times we're pointing the finger at somebody else. So my message is really to sort of, focus on yourself and look at self, and that's where you're going to create the change. It has to start with you.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, the theme of tonight's show, a major part of what's holding us back is the amount of physical stuff we have around us, just clutter. And I couldn't find Canadian statistics, but the American stats are pretty interesting. There's 2.3 billion square feet of self-storage in the United States, and there are 51,000 storage facilities in our southern neighbor, and that's 4 times the number of McDonald's that exist in the country, just to put it into perspective. So, generally, as North Americans, we're overhoused, and we're overclothed, and we're overfed, and we're over-entertained, and we just have too much stuff. I speak for myself when I say, we pay the bills late often because we can't find them, and we buy 5 or 6 of certain items because we forget or can't find the other 4 of what we had. And every time I go to Europe and I'm hanging out with my European friends, I can't help but notice that they live in modest homes, they have modest cars, they're not as much focused on stuff and possessions, they're more focused on experiences, and so they're out on the public square every night drinking wine and eating foie gras and having a wonderful time, whereas we seem to be more focused on, paying off our debt from accumulating the latest toy or acquisition. And so I wonder, in your line of work, what kinds of patterns you see with your clients here in Ottawa and beyond. Are there certain people who are more vulnerable to trying to keep up with the Joneses or acquiring things for the wrong reasons? And what are some of the consequences that you're seeing, both from a physical and emotional perspective?
And I mean, when I'm working with people are creatures of habit, right? So when we're making mistakes in our wardrobe, we tend to repeat them. So over and over again. So for instance, one of my clients, I noticed that a lot of her footwear, her shoes, were all like heavy. And when I'm working with her, I mean, part of it is sort of working into their psyche as well, right? And the message really was, the heaviness that she was feeling, right? So I'm seeing it in the physical sense. I'm seeing it in their shoes and their wardrobe. But then I've got to kind of help them see it. This style, number one, doesn't work for you. It's not flattering for you. And look what's going on here. And once you line it up and I take pictures, right, you can actually start seeing. And that's when it's more relevant for them to kind of stand out and sort of, oh, now I see it. So it's a matter of putting the focus on, putting the light, shining the light on it, and seeing what's going wrong and stopping it, right? So that we don't have to create another storage spot to put all those shoes when they're not working for you in the first place. So let's just purge them. Let's give them to somebody that does need them more than you, and they're not working for you. So why are they in your wardrobe in the first place? So let's get them gone.
Are you seeing people that might have problems with depression who are using shopping as an outlet for escape?
Yeah, and I mean, one of the chapters, one of my steps is shopping without buying. And I'm purposely telling people to now go and shop, but no buying. Leave the credit, and if you're impulsive, leave the credit card, leave the money, leave everything at home, but go out and shop, but you're not buying. I mean, my message really is to get people to start trying things that they normally wouldn't try, right? That's where I'm coming from. Because a lot of times what happens when I'm working with a client is they're not gravitating to these things that are going to be fabulous on them. Because remember, we're creatures of habit, so we're going to gravitate to what works or what we think works for us. Whether it does or doesn't, I mean, that's irrelevant in their mind, right? So that's the message that I'm trying to get out in that particular month is so that they don't have the pressure of buying anything. They could just go and buy or not buy, and just shop.
Just window shop.
Try things, Put on a favorite skirt or a dress or, something and try different things to mix it up. And
so really it's about the journey of shopping as opposed to the destination, which is acquiring some sort of material possession.
Exactly. I don't want them acquiring anything unless they absolutely love it, right? And if you don't love it, don't put it in your wardrobe.
What are you seeing, Julie, with your
Oh my goodness, so many things. And what is key to me is I've noticed that people are just so caught up in either fear of judgment. So I need to look fantastic, and I need to act always perfect, and so on. I see that, a lot of that. I see a lot of people just stuck in their minds so much and detached from what is truly meaningful to them, or just having a smile, or sharing a smile with a stranger, or so we're just like caught up and feeling anxiety and tensions all the time, like we're stressed out like crazy. So to me, like I'm seeing patterns that people are, as soon as they're like alone or feeling alone, the anxiety kind of creeps up, and it's like, I need to buy something, I need to do something, there's always a need to fill that quiet space.
I need possessions to keep me company.
Anything, food, whatever, exactly. Shopping is a big one, huge. People like, they have this massive debt, and then they're like, well, it makes me feel good to shop.
Until the bill comes in.
Yeah, and I say, go for a walk in nature. And make that, get in touch with yourself. And as some people are going, whatever, sing kumbaya. No, it's just like, get back into yourself.
Back to basics.
Back to you, exactly. And being fully grounded. And it was interesting when you said the lady with the heavy shoes. it was probably someone that was too earthy, too grounded, and not open to different possibilities. So I could see that in the footwear or in the clothes as well. It tells a lot about a person.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I just want to remind our viewers that if you have any questions for our guest tonight, please call in at the number listed at the bottom of your screen. They're excited to hear from you and to answer any questions or inquiries you might have on how to declutter your own life and your own wardrobe. Wilma, you've got some really great gadgets that you've brought along with us to the show. Let's do a little bit of show and tell. What are some of your some of your favorite ways to make organizing fun?
Yeah, and I mean, when I'm working directly with the client, I'm not really getting into organizing with the client, but that's sort of where I'm directing them through the book, right? But what I have here is the message that I'm trying to get across is, number one, get rid of anything that you don't love or doesn't serve a purpose.
See, that's easier said than done.
Well, then they might need to hire me to come in and, I'm not emotionally attached to their stuff, right? But they are, right? And you'll see that from time to time. Somebody will tell me, well, just recently, I shouldn't say just recently because she might be watching. But let me just change the story a little bit. But, it was something that belonged to her husband, right, which was in her wardrobe. And of course, her message was, I can't ever get rid of that.
Her husband had passed away?
No. Her husband is, they're happily married. Everything is all good. No. She just, it's a bonding thing with this. And I'm like, okay, but it doesn't belong in your wardrobe. It belongs in his. So if you can't purge it, you give it back to him. Mm-hmm. And if you want to wear it, fine, go into his wardrobe and wear it. But let's just get rid of it. It doesn't belong in your wardrobe. Mm. So a lot of times what happens with people is they keep things in their wardrobe, number one, that it isn't working, right? And there's the attachment because, I paid a fortune for this thing. I can't, right? So they can't get rid of it for that reason. And sometimes it's the emotional, it could belong to something or someone that was, yes, exactly.
Event. I find that way, I think back to certain key events in my life and I remember exactly what I was wearing. So I pull an item out of the closet that maybe I haven't worn in a while, but I'll remember how I felt when I wore it. And then I won't want to part with that item for that reason.
Yes, exactly.
Do you have something like that?
Well, I'm wearing my mother's bracelet, so at least I'm wearing it, right? Yeah. So the main thing is that you're, and I understand the emotional attachment to things. I mean, I can, I'm sympathetic. I hear their story, but to me, it's keep it out of the wardrobe. So in other words, somebody had, it was a garment, and I said, well, okay, why don't you take a piece of that, cut it away, frame it, put it on the wall, put their picture beside it or next to it, and every time you look at it, it reminds you of that person. So I understand the emotional attachment to it, but it doesn't belong in your wardrobe. Mm-hmm. Your wardrobe is a place where it's for you, right? So the emotional attachment you've got to shift it. So find a way that you can gravitate to it.
What about just in case items? Are you allowed to have any just in case items? Like just in case I lose 10 pounds just a lot of women, their weight fluctuate. Like I have clothing in a variety of sizes in my closet that unfortunately, I might not be able to fit into it for a few years, and then when I am able to fit into it, it's no longer in style.
Exactly. Yeah. So in January, it's the 31 days. Every day you're supposed to remove one item from your wardrobe. So
is that what you talk about in your book?
In January, and they're very brief. They're meant to take like minutes a day. So January, it's one item per day. You can do it on a weekend and remove 31 items. I don't care how you do it.
Wow.
Just I'm going to do that. And it does work because I'm a purger, in my wardrobe, I'm purging all the time. So
can you get addicted to purging? Does it feel good?
Oh, it does feel good. Yeah. So it's not a bad addiction. I mean, what happens? You end up with an empty house. I guess you got to go shopping then, right?
Right, yeah.
But I have like 3 categories. So in other words, you got to take your wardrobe, remove it, and put it into 1 or 3 piles. So one of it is trash it. In other words, it's not good for you, it's stained, it's torn, whatever. It's not good for you, it's not good for anybody. Let's trash it. Another thing could be fix it. So those are the things that, and I was guilty, right? Mm-hmm. I had a pair of jeans, I popped the button, I sewed it back on. Well, it popped again, and it was in the wardrobe sitting there, and of course you go in there.
Do you feel like your clothes judge you sometimes?
Well, they do sometimes. But it was like, oh, yeah, I can't wear that, you know. And what I did was I pulled it out. So the whole idea behind January is to remove it from your wardrobe because I can't use it. So it ended up going to the tailor, and he fixed it properly. So the button stays on. And the other one is to, you know, to let it go. So that's, you know, on consignment, take a picture, that kind of thing.
So fix it, trash it, or...
Trash it, fix it, or, now you got me.
Or keep it, or keep it.
It's trash it, fix it, or let it go.
Let it go. Toss it.
Toss it.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got that wrong. I know I got that wrong. You're going to have to look at my book. But it'll come back. But to answer your question, yeah, there's a part where there's, you know, that you can't let it go, right? So those are the things that I say, okay, let's say you've just had a baby. You've got this extra weight, and you've got those clothes, right, that you want to get back into, right, but you're not there yet. So what I don't want is to emotionally, you know, be drained. Oh yes, I had that cheesecake with, you know, dinner last night. I shouldn't have.
I was going to ask you about that because there's a lot of guilt that surrounds, you know, the wastefulness and letting go of things, or maybe, you know, someone special gave it to you as a gift, and then you're being ungrateful if you let it go and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So to me, it's you take a box and put it in a box. So it's just the negative thought, right, that goes, what happens is you'll beat yourself up, right, when you look in the wardrobe and say, no, I can't wear that because whatever, right? I didn't exercise, I didn't go to the gym, whatever the case may be. So take it out and put it in a box, right, and get it out of the wardrobe. So date it and go back to it 6 months later and reevaluate.
Okay, that's really interesting. Julie, do you struggle with this in your own wardrobe?
Maybe in the last year I've kept on a little too much clothes because I'm, you know, spending on school, on this, on that, and I haven't been buying a lot of new pieces. But I've been good at purging. Like and this has changed like in the last 3 years.
Because of your line of work?
Yeah, exactly. You know, as I was decluttering, I was like, cluttered house, cluttered mind. Cluttered mind, cluttered house.
So true.
And like that came so true to me, and I'm like, I need to get some stuff out of here. And it's just unbelievable when you walk in that room that you just cleaned, the energy you get and the good feeling, and, you know, good feeling about yourself. Then that increases your self-confidence and you're happier. I mean, it's tenfold, right? So I don't experience it as much anymore.
Is there something that you just can't let go of in your own closet?
Yeah. So I used to be in a band.
Oh, that's cool.
When I was like from 18 to 24 years old. There are just some pieces I can't part. They're just original. They're really cool. And these really nice long pieces that I never wear, or sometimes I wear for Halloween to make it, you know, really dressy or fancy. But other than that, yeah.
I mean, and Wilma, is it okay to have a few pieces like that in your closet as long as they're not taking over your closet?
Yeah, they're not taking over. Yeah, and good point.
Yeah, they're in the corner.
Yeah. You know, I have some Halloween costumes too. They got to go somewhere, right?
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, there's a certain space for it. But you know, it was like when I was clearing one closet, and you know, I said, okay, this is not working. She said, well, could I wear that to the cottage? Sure. You can wear that to the cottage, right? And then there would be another one, and it's cottage and cottage and cottage. And then shortly thereafter, you know, so where is this cottage? Well, she doesn't have one. So you know what I'm saying? It's like there's a certain, you know, how many paint clothes can you have?
Right.
You have to draw the line
you get
somewhere.
The outfit before you have the lifestyle.
Yeah, if it's taking over and creeping, we gotta address this, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're just about to head to break, but when we come back, I want to hear more about what some of these tools that you've got going on here can help simplify people's lives. This is very interesting and exciting, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Hi, and welcome back to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and on tonight's show, we're talking about stuffication. That's when you're suffocated by too much stuff, and how to declutter with spring just around the corner. Declutter not just your wardrobe and your pantry and your house, but also declutter your life from toxic relationships or negative habits or self-talk that's keeping you from living to your best potential. Please feel free to call the number at the bottom of your screen if you have any questions for our guests. They're excited to hear from you tonight. So Wilma, we were just talking about some of the stuff that you brought in to show us about simplifying people's lives, and you were mentioning to me earlier one of your major inspirations for your work is this very popular Japanese decluttering icon named Marie Kondo, and her book is a bestseller. It's been published in 30 countries, and her book is basically called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and she has, you know, legions of followers and fans on Instagram and Twitter that will post photos of the things that they've given away and they've purged, and I understand it's quite addictive.
It really is. And I was going on my holidays and heading up to the cottage, and I happened to pick it up at Costco on my way up to the, you know, my holidays, and I read it, and I just, you know, as I said, I'm always purging my wardrobe. I was so excited to come home and actually like start doing some of the work. So and it'll be interesting to sort of add to it into my next book, some of the things that I learned from it. And I've actually been doing it. So for instance, she talks a lot about, all you need is a shoebox, essentially. But she talks a lot about folding almost everything. So in other words, when you want to save space, right? Instead of getting the, you know, the extra space and paying for, you know, that space, right. you create extra space by folding.
So is it better to fold than hang, and why?
Well, I've been experiencing it.
Yeah.
So I have totally followed it, and so, you know, you'll see stuff on the table, and I'll let the viewers know that this was a fresh purchase, so it's like the store has come here.
The socks and the underwear have
the
never
socks
been
and
used.
the underwear is all new.
That's a relief since I'm sitting next to it.
So what she does is fold everything. But I've gone and I've folded from skirts to, you know, pants, everything. There's certain things that don't work to fold, and those are your blouses. They don't work as well. Jackets aren't going to work. Sure. So some things you want to hang, but for the most part, I'm putting them in categories and folding everything. So, for instance, the socks here, I should just do that, right? Sorry. So in other words, I've put the little categories in case you just want a little ankle sock, right? Okay. And you would just put it and fold it, or you've got a little higher sock, right? So let's
so
just.
you separate.
So
the
I
separated
separated them, right? Okay. And everybody can do what they feel, but
like
the whole idea
according to color instead of.
You're doing by color. So in other words, you'll notice that it goes from darker to lighter. Okay. Right? So that's how you're doing it. And these look great. You put those right in, but you can use a shoebox, right?
Where did you get these?
Well, actually, those were from Loblaws, and I just saw them in you know, a cart, and they had 50% off, and I just grabbed them.
So they're meant for storage?
So they're meant for storage, and they work really well. So this will be harder to demonstrate, but these are all folded. I won't take it out and fold it for you, but they're folded and everything. So you're organizing things not like you see it in a store. So in a store, you're seeing it up this way, right?
Seeing it vertical.
You're doing it, yes, horizontal, so that you can actually look down at it, right? Okay. So it'll take you a little bit at first to kind of get the, you know, how do I fold this, right? So actually, I can show you if you want to sort of see. Yeah. But so here is a
you're obviously
fresh new underwear from the store.
You're not worried about wrinkling your underwear, right? So.
Yeah, but you know, when I open up my drawers, you know, it would take me 10 seconds to get ready to pack. Yeah, I could go like that. Yeah. Right? But a lot of things you've got to press anyways, right? Yeah. So if you want to save space, you're folding. If you want to save time, they say to hang everything. Okay. Right? Okay. Everything.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah. But to me, if you want to get ready for the day before, why are we doing it first thing in the morning? Plan your outfit the night before, have it pressed, ready, and have it done the night before. There's no, you know, so I'm really liking following her book. I found it very interesting. I thought I could, you know, pick up some things from the wardrobe side. And what I find is, you know, some of my readers, they're taking it past the wardrobe and they're going into the whole, you know, the whole house. And they're, you know, it starts with the wardrobe, but then they keep going. So that's a good thing. But what you do is you just fold, right? Fold it into thirds, and then you just tuck your bottom part into the back, and boom, you're done, right? And I do them upside down.
Okay.
Right? So, I mean, depending on your underwear, right? You may want to put them in different categories. You know, you might want to put, okay, this
bikini or boy
yes,
shorts.
exactly, or your thongs. You know, oh darn, it's a thong, and that's a little harder to put that together.
Yeah.
You can. You just follow the same principles. Okay. So basically, everything that I've got here is just breaking it down. So what you want to do is put them in according to style. So in other words, keep your belt. And then that's a big thing that she says is take your belts, or you take your whatever you're doing, whatever you're cleaning when you're cleaning your house per se. I don't do that, but I mean professionally. But what you do is you take everything in, you know, take all your lighters and put them in one space, right? And then you wonder why you've got, you know, 50 lighters in your house when you don't smoke, right? You know, that kind of thing. So I'm doing the same thing, but in wardrobe. So everything is by category. So the socks are in one tray. The underwear is in another tray. And as I said, you can break those down so that it's easier for you if you want to break down your different style of underwear.
Just going back to the drawer of belts, I've actually seen those things that you mount on the wall, and they've got like little knobs. And you can hang your belts, but you still think that the drawer is superior to that?
You know, I like to have, like, I'm following her thing with everything, and those do work, right? You can do that. But what happens with a belt like this that has no, right?
Oh, there's no way to hang it?
There's no way to hang it, right? So I want to be able to go into my drawer and know all my belts are in one drawer. So that, to me, works better. So I really try and do things so that I can better help my clients, right? I mean, everybody is different, and whatever works for you, great, right? So, but that's how I do it, even for the accessories, right?
Okay.
So here's a little stand. You could go to Michael's and pick up these stands.
So anyone can buy these, right?
Anybody can buy these. So you could have on one shelf, and you have your accessories, right? Depending on your, you know, I have the tall stand, and I like to have my drawers, and I like to have a lot of accessories. So but this may not work for me, but it would work for a lot of people. So here you would put all your bracelets on your stand, and then you've got another, make it pretty, make it nice, and put all your necklaces, and then you've got another one for your rings. So, you know, and this one here is you know, to put your scarves.
Interesting.
Right? So you can just hang it in.
Or you could just fold your
scarves. You could just fold it. Or you have something like this, if you've got a lot of scarves.
Oh, I've seen those. Those are super cute.
So you can just do that and just organize it that way and hang it in your closet, and you're good to go.
Little black dress of scarves.
Little black dress of scarves, yes.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, some people have a lot of scarves, so they may need something like that. But the whole idea really is to keep it all together.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it makes
sense.
sense.
Put them in categories.
Makes perfect sense.
Same with your skirts and your pants and everything else.
I can't wait to try this out at home.
Yeah. That's the whole idea. We hope that it, you know. Yeah, everybody gets a little excited about organizing their closet. And the Give It bag is part of, you know, maintaining. So in other words, one thing in and one thing out. Right? So I hang that on the back of my door. You know, I sell them on my website as well. It's one of my bags. And
so what do you mean by
on,
give it? You mean give it away?
Yeah. So in other words, you know, it either goes in the Give It bag. So you're, whatever, Give It means, you know, are you selling it online, right? Are you, you know, going to a consignment store, or, you know, you're dropping it off at Value Villagers?
So that was going to be my next question for you, is how can you declutter and still be sustainable?
Well, you want to keep everything that really feels good and works for you, right? I mean, bottom line. Sometimes it is hard to purge those things and get rid of them. So if you're really having a hard time, put it on consignment and get some money back if that makes you feel better. But really, you know, a lot of times when I'm talking with clients is treat it as a gift, right? I mean, other people need it more than you do, so give it as a gift. You know, pass it on.
And those are great, but I think it's also worth mentioning that there's a parody of Marie Kondo's book that's recently hit bookshelves, and it's called The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Beep, because it's family hour. But I love this part of the title, How to Stop Spending Time You Don't Have with People You Don't Like. And, that's a great segue into your line of work, Julie, because you look at sort of the entire categories of our lives that are populated by things that we feel we need to do or we have to do. You mentioned that you yourself were a people pleaser, and I mean, I'm guilty of that. We all are. We eat things we don't like to appear gracious. We spend time with people we don't like to appear benevolent. We do things we don't really want to do to appear helpful, and that's just a tremendous drain on our time and our energy and our resources, and we sort of focus that limited time and energy onto things that maybe aren't necessarily giving us the most return. So what are your thoughts on that? Because this is sort of right up your alley.
Yeah, and the first step for me is I tell clients, you need to get a dose of self-awareness, right? Is taking a look at your life. And I always start off, not always, but most times I start off with an exercise called the Wheel of Life. And it's basically a circle cut into different wedges, like a pie, 8 pieces. One representing family, the other one health, your job, your finances, community work, spirituality, all areas of your life. And you basically ask yourself from 0 to 10, how satisfied am I with this area of my life? So instead of being so overwhelmed with everything in your life, you're taking the time to look at every single section. And when you start realizing, and I mean, you can either have a off circle, a circle that's like, oh, you're so super satisfied at work, but family is like a 2 and relationship is a 1 and whatever. But you get to see your life in a different light. And then from there, you can pick and choose where to go. So is it, your relationship with your friends? Is it that you're just spending like crazy, not paying your bills, not, totally unorganized with your finances? And then from there, then it doesn't seem as overwhelming, because if you try to change so many things in your life at once, you're going to fail. You're not going to make any changes. And then what happens? You start hitting yourself on the head with a frying pan, saying you're good for nothing, and you're not changing, and you're stuck in your habits
again. And you go
again.
back out there and shop for more stuff.
Yes! Or you stay in those toxic relationships, So it's really picking where are you in your life and what do I want to focus on. And it's shedding some light on that one area. Like, what are your feelings? Like, how do you feel about this area? Are you angry? Are you ashamed? Are you feeling guilty? So get in touch with your feelings. People don't like getting in touch with their feelings, but that's the truth. That's where the truth lies, and that's where you can start making changes. What are your thought patterns around that? Are you blaming people around you? Are you blaming the environment? Or are you kind of going, oh, what can I do to change?
How do I accept responsibility
for my behavior?
Exactly,
yes. Yeah. So looking at the thoughts, looking at the emotions, and then looking at what you're doing and what you're not doing about the situation.
So I want to ask you, for example, I believe that breaking up is an art form, and too many of us sort of keep these toxic relationships in our lives, friendships that have long since been past their prime, but you sort of keep these people around in your life because of the memories you had, but you're no longer making new memories, or maybe these people are just sort of draining you of time, of money, of energy, of resources. How do you break up a toxic relationship?
Oh boy, that is a tough one. I mean, it requires a lot of courage. And again, I get back to, how does it make you feel? Is it, again, you have to have that release, that dose of, how am I thinking about this? How am I feeling about this? Oh my God, when I'm out with this person, I'm eating all this junk food when I'm trying to be healthy. Again, the awareness, the more awareness you have, the more courage then you will have to break off the unhealthy relationship. There's never a perfect time. People say, oh, I gotta wait. But if your gut is telling you, if the thought keeps popping up and, you take a moment of stillness to just relax and then boing, 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 the person just keeps popping up, you have to deal with it. And it's, again, becoming responsible for your own life, responsible for your own self, and look at the effects. Not only is it having on you, but the effects that it's having on other people around you. Because if you're with someone toxic, then you're coming back home low energy. Then you're not there for your spouse. You're not there for your kids. So it's, again, looking at also at other areas.
What are some examples of emotional clutter that we deal with on a daily basis?
Oh my goodness. Well, the primary one that I hear the most, that I see the most, is self-sabotaging thoughts. You know, I shouldn't have, or I could have done this, or feeling guilty for saying no. So guilt, self-sabotage, fears. Fear of failure, fear of succeeding, fear of the unknown.
Fear of success. Why would someone be afraid of succeeding?
Well, I had that fear for a while, so I can speak to it.
Is that like imposter syndrome?
I've never heard about that.
Where you feel like you've landed on an opportunity, or you're successful in your life because no one's onto you, but any minute someone will be onto you, and like you don't actually deserve to be where you are.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I can see now the connections to that. Yeah, that could very well be a possibility. What was personal to me was that if I was going to be, the more successful I became, the more responsible I had to become. And then there was that part of me that didn't believe that I could be that responsible. Like, I have to do this, I have to do that, and I have to be on top of this, that. Like, it's just, can I really be there? So then you have to really look at, you know, where am I in my life, and am I dreaming too big, and so on. So fear of success in that sense. But yeah, a lot of fears are getting in the way. And you know, what I see a lot of, again, is people just stuck in their minds, just living their life mostly like a high percentage in their head. Not here, not fully present, not grounded, just shoving food down their throat, you know, not being present with their food, not taking the time to connect with people, and not feeling their own bodies, you know. Like, I don't know how many times I caught myself driving, you know, with the shoulders up. Why? Well, I'm driving and thinking about 10,000 things that I need to do, you know. How about just driving? You know, shoulders down and just being present in the moment and not being distracted by so many things around us.
I hear that multitasking is generally not a good thing, right? Even when you're physically trying to declutter your household. Doesn't Marie Kondo actually advise against multitasking when you're cleaning up? I've read that in a few places.
Yeah, it's just, I'm not sure if it's her, but yeah, I mean, I always thought it was a really good thing, right? Like, wow, I could do like 50 things all at once. Wow, we're talented, right? And then I came across where it said, you know, it really isn't that good. You know, and I think there's a lot of truth to that, because you just get too scattered, right? And you're not doing as well enough in one area that you could be. So, you know, and it's what you're talking about, you know, sort of being in the now, right? Sort of focusing and
living in the present.
Living in the present. Yeah.
One source of clutter is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, carry on.
One source of clutter in our lives is the digital clutter. I mean, constantly having your smartphone on you all the times. I know people who sleep with it under their pillow and take it with them into the washroom, and always their head down, you know, sorting through hundreds of emails, and we've lost the ability to daydream, to have solitude, to stare out the window when you're on the bus and look at things passing by. I mean, how do you deal with that?
Get an alarm clock.
I remember when I first started my business, and I mean, I was new on Facebook too, so about 3.5 years ago, and I like caught myself on Facebook so much, and I'm like, this is insane. And again, right, the self-awareness piece, I'm like, I'm just gonna time, you know, how long I spent on Facebook. Like, I would catch myself an hour and a half just scrolling, adding tags, hi, or you know, whatever, and I'm like, seriously, an hour and a half? And that was like a chunk of my day. Then, you know, later at night I was doing it again. So I think, you know, it's like, pay attention. Like, are you constantly reaching out for something? Like, I remember driving those Mentos candies. I used to have those in my car all the time. And I'd be driving, and whenever I like, once in a while I'd catch a Mentos. And there was a moment where I caught my Mentos and went, why am I going for this? I put it down, drove, and then I went again for it and went, wait a second, what's happening here? And I noticed that whenever I felt a bit of anxiety, I had to reach for something to soothe me.
It was your crutch.
It was. Yeah. Just like a phone, right? We're sitting alone in a mall and you know, we see people, we feel awkward, you know, I'm going to look at my phone. Or like, it's internet, you know, I'm bored. Oh, what, you can't be with yourself? So I'm going to, you know, watch TV, I'm going to go on the internet or the net. That could be an issue too. But yeah, I think it's just pulling us away from this nice quietness that resides within ourselves that we just don't tap into enough,
aware.
in my own opinion. Yeah.
We're just about to head to break, but when we come back, I want to hear all about your work as a naturopathic energy practitioner. And Wilma, I can't wait to go over some of those before and afters of those makeovers that you do. So don't go away. We'll be right back with lots more. Hi, and welcome back to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and on tonight's show we're talking about how to empty your basket so the universe can fill it up with something even better, decluttering your life and your wardrobe and simplifying it in the process. Julie, we were talking before we went to break about some of the work that you do with your clients, and I'm specifically interested in some of the work that you do as a naturopathic energy practitioner. And so there's a lot of energy that's involved in the line of work that you do. There's, negative energy, which is why your clients come to see you. And of course, the positive energy that comes with purging your life of some of the things that are dragging you down. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you do and some of the workshops that you run.
Well, it's interesting. The naturopathic energy practitioner, it's not for everybody. It's for those who are curious in the, the energy world, and it's balancing the chakras, balancing the elements within the body. It's removing tensions and blockages that exist at an energetic level that affect you on a physical level. That's it. That's all. It's as clear as that. So some people sometimes are just too much in their head. So I'm going to do an earthing therapy that's going to ground them a bit more. Or maybe they're having digestive issues, so they need balance, more in the earth element. Or they're, they don't have any action, and they dream, but they're not doing anything. So I'll do a fire therapy. So that ignites the fire within and ignites action. So it's not for everybody, but for those who are curious about it, oh my goodness, beautiful, amazing results. And I love the school that I study with, and I'm still in studies. But great therapies that complement the coaching, or that can be taken on its own separately with workshops and so on. So I'll go over now to talk about workshops, I guess. Yeah. I love doing workshops as well. I used to be a trainer for the provincial government, so designing courses, I just love doing that stuff. And I've developed a good 18 workshops.
Wow.
Different type of workshops, like how to deal with negativity, or how to manage my emotions, self-confidence booster, how to incorporate self-discipline in my life, all these different topics. And I deliver them with the City of Ottawa in Orleans, but I also have different programs within my company, and one in particular is called Get Rid of the Junk and Create the Life You Want.
Oh, that's so appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the junk is, the self-sabotaging thoughts, the procrastination, the worrying, the self-judgments, the judgments of others. So all the fears, all the stuff we were talking about earlier that really gets in the way of creating the life you want, right? So emptying that basket of junk so that you can let the universe fill those baskets with things that are aligned with who you are and what you're meant to live on this
Before
life.
you got sidetracked by all the things in your closet that you don't need.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's when we get lost, and if we can notice that we're lost, then we have the opportunity to find ourselves again and to even surpass and become better than what we could have even ever imagined.
So you have some resources here that help people find their internal compass, some books that you like to suggest or recommend to clients?
Oh my goodness, The Power of Now.
That's a popular one.
It's a popular one, and as you can see, I have like a gazillion little things in here. I read the first chapter, and it was like a slap in the face. It was like, wow, you are living in your head, woman. You are not here on earth. You are thinking about conversations while people are talking to you. You're thinking about your grocery list. You're thinking about what you're going to make for dinner. Just huge. It just gives you some insights. It's a deep read, though. It's not an easy read. But you can get a lot from just sifting like the first couple chapters. So huge, huge, huge. This book here is by Dr. John DeMartini, Inspired Destiny. It's an amazing book. He's a human behavior specialist, and he helps people find their life purpose, really dig into what your personal values are as a person, and so many other tools, how to dissolve guilt, how to dissolve other things. His exercises are advanced, but amazing, amazing book. John DeMartini, great guy. The Life You're Born to Live.
Okay.
I love this book.
Okay.
I got this like when I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And it's a bit about your numerology. So you calculate your date of birth, and it gives you some actually information on who you are as a person, what your challenges are in your life. So it sheds a lot of light. It brings awareness to, you know, that lack of awareness you may have.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this is my Bible. It's in French as well, but it's called The Complete Dictionary of Ailments and Diseases. So I'll just throw in a little tidbit here. So did you know that if you have a physical symptom, that most likely the root cause of it is either an emotional or mental issue?
Wow.
For example, I always use this in my workshops. If you're really, really angry about something, you're really pissed off about something, you might get a urine infection. And I should have gone the other way. If you have a urinary tract infection, you're most likely really pissed off about something.
Really? That's very
Huge.
interesting.
This book is like, everything's in there.
So it's nothing to do with how much cranberry juice you drink.
No. I mean, you could try, but it's amazing because, for instance, people pleasers, they have usually they have tense shoulders because they're carrying everybody's weight on their shoulders.
I'm conscious about my shoulders now because I'm a people pleaser.
Okay, so lower back issues. Well, you're most likely worrying about finances. Hips. If you've got pain in your hips, you're having a hard time moving forward because you're afraid, so you want to stay back. So then you're feeling, you know, the pain in your hips. So this book just sheds so much light on some things that we just don't know about ourselves. So you look it up and you kind of go, oh, oh yeah, this person in my life, this toxic person in my life.
Yeah.
You know, I'm feeling this pain because I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah.
So this is just some of the resources
So better physical health, an obvious consequence of being able to declutter your life and your closet. But I want to talk about how one consequence is just looking fabulous and stylish, Wilma, and that goes back to some of the work you do as an image makeover queen. So I want to bring up some of the images that you've sent us earlier today of some befores and afters, clients that you've had, that you've worked with. You've decluttered their closet, and suddenly you've got
and then take them
whole
shopping.
new view. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about this client.
Yes, and this one is I love this, you know, and I think she's one of my readers, so she's trying to, you know, step forward, and you know, it's back to being conscious, right? It's becoming more aware that, you know I can do better, right? And I'm just holding myself back. So that's really what it's all about. So, you know, when I start working with them, they start seeing a whole different look.
This is interesting.
Different.
Do you have a lot of male clients?
Mostly women, to be honest, but I always love working with men. And this was a younger gentleman, and you know, he looked up for my services, which was great, right? And I mean, the difference in him is just so remarkable. This gentleman
even in his posture.
Yeah, well, I had to remind him, like he's very, very tall, right? He's well over 6 feet, about 6'5", I think. So, and look at the difference here. I mean, when I'm working with people, it's getting rid of some of these things that aren't working for her. This jacket, it's just overpowering her, and it's just making her look shorter. And when you're already short, you need to stretch and look taller, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as you look taller, because most women want to look taller because they'll look slimmer.
Yeah.
So you're always trying to look taller. So sometimes it's purging some of the things that are in your wardrobe, get them out because they're just really not working for you. So of course in this after picture, she's looking much, you know, and you can see how she's holding herself different, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, as soon as they start, they feel it, and then it's reflective.
You
right?
look good and you feel good.
Yeah.
So in these instances with your clients, did you take them shopping for new stuff, or did they have some great pieces in their wardrobe that they just weren't utilizing to their full potential?
A bit of both, you know. Sometimes, you know, a lot of times what happens is a client will say, oh, I would have never thought to put that together. So some of the gems are right in their own wardrobe, but they're just not seeing it.
Yeah.
So that's like a find. And some of the, you know, I like taking people to Winners, for instance, you know, and finding the find. But, you know, that's great when you need a lot of different pieces and that kind of thing, right? Because it is harder. It's not the best if you have, I need a white blouse,
Yeah.
right? So, and it's all about finding those finds and expanding the wardrobe, and that's also another chapter is getting people to actually, take their wardrobe and actually do things differently. Back to the creatures of habit, right? We tend to repeat things and I wear it just like this, right? So, expanding and trying to do things a little bit differently, and then you get feedback, and it helps your confidence and you feel better. And
have you had any tears of joy, any emotional reactions?
Yes, yeah. I remember recently, actually, it was a lady that hired me to look after her daughter, and her daughter was just turning 18. And she was a little nervous because I'm much older than 18, just by a little bit.
Just a little bit. I barely noticed.
Yeah. So she was a little concerned, and sort of there, but the daughter didn't want mom there, and she was wonderful. The mom was fantastic, and she said, oh, sure, of course, and I just worked with the daughter and went through her wardrobe, and at the end she gives me a big hug and thanked me, and it makes me feel good too, because obviously I've done my job, right? But it's also nice to, all around, right?
Of course,
Yeah.
you really impacted someone's life in a positive way. And I imagine that you too, Julie, you've had some pretty emotional reactions. We only have a couple minutes before the end of our show tonight, but I want to hear a little bit about, some of the positive transformations you've seen in people, and also where we can sign up for your workshop.
Oh, awesome. Oh my goodness, so many stories I could share. From, a woman not believing, actually, pretty much, no hope of having a man in her life, not liking herself, to learning to appreciate and love herself, and finding a man in her life. From someone so negative and depressive to crying almost daily, to enjoying life, participating in life. From a woman, a school teacher, having big aspirations but no confidence, lack of courage to move forward in projects, and then, going through a series of workshops, and all of a sudden, thank you, Julie, if I wouldn't have gone through this, I wouldn't have done this dream that I've had, and the increase of confidence that comes from that, and the feel good and so on.
So how do we find your workshop?
Well, I would say go to richardtransformations.ca or .com.
Okay.
Under the events tab. Under the events tab, you'll have me all over. In April, I have again a second launch of my Get Rid of the Junk and Create the Life You Want. It's a 4-month program.
Okay.
One workshop per month, one Q&A call a month, and with some options of adding coaching or energy therapies as well.
Fantastic.
And with the City of Ottawa as well.
Okay, very interesting. And Wilma, do you have any final thoughts before we end the show tonight?
Oh, I want to thank you for inviting me here, for sure. I mean, it was a pleasure to be on the show.
Thank you so much.
Grateful.
How can we find you?
You can just go to personalstylist.ca,
Okay.
and I have a page on Facebook as well, but all the links are right on my website, so it's easier to go there, and you can find me wherever on social media.
And can anyone have a makeover with you?
Anybody can have a makeover. No age.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes that's one of the things that'll come up, right? And I've had that. I've heard that from clients. Oh, I'm too old. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you again so much, ladies, for coming in and for sharing your expertise with our viewers tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in the studio next week with my colleague, Moni Dujeje. I'll be back in the studio on March the 8th. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.